X-Men 97 revisits the iconic era of the 1990s as the X-Men, a band of mutants who use their uncanny gifts to protect a world that hates and fears them, are challenged like never before, forced to face a dangerous and unexpected new future.
The X-Pod 97 will track those adventures weekly. To you, your X-Pod.
Here we are. Episode 2 is in the books. They did a double premiere. They played you both episodes back to back. So if you're like me, I'm sure you just immediately put that next episode on.
Yep.
So we gave you 2 podcast episodes to do the same exact thing too. I'm Mega Ran. This is Marcos, and this is XPod 97. Episode 2 is called Mutant Liberation Begins. It goes down once again. Now, where we left off was a big cliffhanger. Magneto shows up, hair all done beautifully, with some big news. He drops a bombshell. What was the news?
The news is he has inherited all of Xavier's assets and including the leadership role of the X-Men. It's all him. My man got the masters.
Man, he got it all. So, I mean, I would think, all right, this must be a mistake. Clearly, he would have left this all to Cyclops, or would he? Would he have not? So, there's a point where Magneto says, "Oh, I've been telling you all along that maybe there's a chance that Xavier is wrong, and nobody wanted to listen to me. You know what I mean?" So, do you think he made a mistake here? Like, what's the mentality?
I think if anything, this would have been a personal insult to Cyclops, Scott Summers, but I think that this was the right call. The reason being, as Beast said it so eloquently, he said the best way to get rid of an enemy is to make him a friend, and
Mm,
that's what he did. And then later on in the episode, you hear Magneto talk about his deep relationship with Charles. That he didn't just use the helmet to protect himself, but
mhm,
he also used it so he's not reminded the love that he has for Charles all the time. You know, like these are
mm.
brothers, man. Like they're brothers from another.
They are brothers, man. They absolutely are brothers. Like, and brothers disagree, but at the end of the day, they come together when there's a time of need. So
Yep.
immediately, Magneto seems to be walking the talk. This is surprising to me, even. The feds roll up, and what happens? Magneto says, "I yield." He don't
Yep.
say, "Yo, set it, let's go." He
But
said, "No."
he did it in typical Magneto fashion. He was like, "I'm letting you know that I'm going with you because I choose to." Because my man's came through and did the whole thing with the helicopters because they thought they came in like all chest out, like, oh, our weapons don't have any metal in them and blah blah blah. And he's like, yeah, but how you get here, my man? Like,
Hey,
like,
you in a helicopter for real? Okay,
like
cool. So yeah, he lets them know clearly, like, I could have done this to you. I could have done you in, but I'm gonna roll up. So he is now gonna go to stand trial. The
yep,
X-Men are trying to adjust. Bishop not really trusting him. Cyclops definitely not trusting him, and Salty because he wasn't the one. But one particular member of the team is very sympathetic, and we find out a little later. And it's Rogue. Rogue is very sympathetic. She's understanding. She's like, well, honey, it's people can change the stripes, and some old
and we
Southern
we find out later on why.
wisdom. Turns out, old Rogue and Magneto have some history, and we get into that a little later. So he's now being brought to trial, and then we get to see the executioner shows up,
Yep,
which is a really cool character whose job is to cause havoc,
yep.
specifically coming in here to take out Magneto. But instead, what happens?
Then we get Storm,
Hmm.
in typical X-Men fashion, jumps in because they're not thinking about themselves; they're thinking about saving the person that's in danger, and basically takes the energy blast from the executioner, which we later find out was like a mutant power dampening blast, which kind of falls in line with the comic book. If you notice, Storm loses her comic book, her powers in the comic
Mm-hmm.
almost in the same way,
Yeah, yeah.
which is crazy. I love that they're following these multi threads that are going here, and I can't wait until we see more about this. Like I feel like without watching episode 3 or 4 or anything that's out there, only these few two, like I feel like I kind of get the picture that they're kind of drawing, which makes me feel cool because 90% of the time when you're watching a Marvel show, you don't know what the hell is gonna happen
No,
until
you don't
until
know.
Marvel happens. But they're in this IP and they're following this IP rules under this medium, which is super dope.
I like it. So Magneto presents his case and he's actually pardoned. They decide, all right, man, you really in here for Xavier? Are you about to do Xavier's work? And he says yes, and they absolutely agree, and they decide to pardon him. But he warns that his patience is limited.
Yeah, he gets pardoned like
Mhm.
in a very he seeks that pardon in a very threatening manner.
Yeah, even with that, it's like, again, I'm letting you live. So, if I decide, if y'all decide to act up, then we gonna
Like,
be right back here
like if
where
you
we
guys
started.
want to smoke, I got it.
I can give it to you. So when Storm is laid out, he says something like, "Oh, this is what you wanted. You want mutants to be writhing in pain and hurt and sad and groveling, and it really made me feel for Storm. And so later on, we learn through Beast, who's trying to break it to her easily, but there's really no easy way to say is that these effects seem to be permanent. And the
Yeah,
first thing I thought was nothing's permanent in X Men.
yeah. Nothing
Like
in comics is permanent.
nothing is permanent anywhere. So it's weird for them to say that. But she reacts to that. And Morph comes up with a little more comic relief. By the way, Morph's kind of a jerk in this show. Like
Yeah, even
early on, from the first episode, him showing up as a professor after he's dead and everybody's mourning him, and he's walking uh to this, like to this guy has a sick sense of humor. And I don't know, maybe that'll be addressed at some point, but like Morph's kind of a weird one, but
I love
I
it
like
though.
him though. I like his character, and you need the comic relief, so I get it. Um, all right, so Storm is very sad, so she's like, "Yo, this, I don't know," and she then decides that she's going to leave. Now it's weird because her and Jean were just talking about how they were sisters, how they were, they found family through X Men, but unfortunately, and I've actually had this happen in personal relationships where people feel like our relationship is based on music or a love for video games or travel or whatever we do together. And then when they stop doing that thing, they feel like we don't have a bond anymore. Like I've had a lot of, friends kind of disappear in that way because it's like, oh, I stopped making music. So I didn't really feel like we had anything in common anymore, things like that. So it's a very real struggle that she's going through there. And I understand it. And so I don't know. What do you make of Storm just splitting? Like, does she
I
not
mean,
feel like she
it's a
has any
real
place?
situation. Like I think it's part because of what happened, and it's also part because she doesn't want to be a burden. And it's like you said, when you're no longer able to do these things, and it's like, man, when something really tragic happens to you, the last thing you want to do is be around people that don't feel the same way because it hasn't happened to them. So you kind of got to personally work things out yourself before you're even out there trying to give support or with the rah rah with anybody else. So I get it. I
Mm,
get it. And one important thing that we haven't mentioned,
mm.
but after I get your thoughts, is the whole Jean Grey part of the episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So I
something
saw
monumental happened that we kind of
something
like.
monumental does happen, and you know what? I thought it. I didn't say it last episode, but if you notice, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait to say it. But something does happen. Of course, Jean's not with them while they're out doing their thing, and Wolverine is there, and then all of a sudden, Jean goes into labor.
Yep.
and it's time to deliver this baby. And I was like, oh man, are we going to actually have Logan deliver this baby at the X Mansion and be
I
like,
was waiting for the.
oh, and he looks just like you. Oh, it's beautiful. You know, I thought that was
My man is doing a Macho Man impression of Wolverine.
you know how in the sitcoms it's like, no, the baby's coming right now. There's no time. And then you gotta
Yeah,
be,
but
all
it
right,
fit.
let
It
me
fit.
figure out how to do this. I got claws. I can't hold the baby. You know. But that didn't happen. They actually get to a hospital, and then and this might have hit home for some people. We get to the hospital, and the doctor is like, I'm not delivering this baby. Not
Yeah.
delivering a mutant baby. Not happening. So Rogue then absorbs this man's knowledge and then says, oh man, but if I touch your baby, something bad could happen.
Yeah,
But
that was giving me civil rights era
mm,
there. He's like, I'm not touching your baby.
yeah, that
Like,
was deep. That was deep. That was some
I
really
was
good
like,
imagery.
oh, even though it's fictional,
Mhm.
it infuriated me. But you know, they were like, it's all good, my man. Gene was like, zip.
Yep. It's like, I trust you. And I was like, oh dang, well, what if, I kept thinking, like, what if something goes wrong? Like, what if, it's bad? But she does it and it makes it happen. Uh Baby is born. Everything is all good. The baby's name is Nathan Summers.
If
And
you
if you know,
know, it is something that a lot of people in the 90s did not have. Cable.
Cable. Yep. So yes, this is Cable's birth. And well, I'm sure we're gonna get into that very soon when they start doing some time traveling, and we will see
I feel
Cable
like it
full grown.
has to. You can't introduce two time traveling characters and not, like, you know what I mean? Like, come on,
Oh, I'm
man.
looking forward to it. It's got to happen very soon. It's gonna happen. Um, and then meanwhile, Jubilee is still talking to Roberto, trying to get him to absorb and get into this like the life of the X-Men. He's not really feeling it, but it'll take some time. I feel like Roberto is the Jubilee of this show, sort of,
Yes,
which is cool.
their character art is like parallel. They're like, shit.
I kept thinking, I was like, oh, Jubilee, don't fall in love with this dude. Like Jubilee fell in love like 18 times in the original series.
I mean, but if she
So
doesn't, is it really Jubilee though?
I kept thinking like, oh no, please don't do it, don't do it. But that's literally been her thing. Like, so I would not be surprised if
But
this winds
Roberto
up
got
being her
some
thing.
flow. My man just out there like,
Yo, he's just spinning bread like it's nothing. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. Then we get the cliffhanger at the end. Classic X-Men. Every episode is like they playing something big, and it's always guess who's coming to dinner. Last episode, Magneto shows up unannounced. This episode, ding dong, and it's Jean Grey.
yep.
Now,
It's like,
this
huh?
this
Huh?
but
What?
but you
What?
but
What?
you over
What?
but
Uh,
man, I noticed from episode 1, I didn't say it, I should have said it. Her hair was down. Jean's hair has been down, and I was like, "That's new." You know what I mean? Like, did you think about that? Like,
I picked up on the clues after the fact. Like, of course, I did what everybody else does: rewatch the episodes again after like 10
mhm,
minutes,
right.
just to be like,
I was like, "That's different." You know what I mean? Not thinking like, I mean, people change their hair all the time. Magneto's hair is different. I don't mean he's.
my man is coiffed. That's the only thing I'm gonna say. My man's like, I wish I had hair like that. That's what I'm saying. Even that
His
color, I
lock.
don't even care.
Yeah, I could take all white. It's cool. It's beautifully manicured and coiffed. Um, so yeah, I noticed Jean's hair was down. I didn't think like, oh, she's a clone. Oh, it ain't her. Like I wasn't thinking that, but I just thought it was interesting, like an interesting decision because like I've never seen her character like that. So it was I thought creative liberties, but it turns out something is afoot here.
And I can't wait for next week. But I like search and search, and because I remember them doing something like that in the comic, and then of course they got my answer. But it's Marvel, so you don't know if they're gonna do it brick by brick.
Right,
But
right.
I have my speculations, and it's gonna be dope. I cannot wait. That's the only thing I can say. I cannot wait. Like,
So yeah, like I mentioned time travel. So this could be Gene from another time, another dimension. Um, the Gene that's there could be the real Gene. The Gene that's at the door could be the real Gene. We don't know. We're gonna
yeah,
we're
no,
gonna figure it
we
out.
don't know anything,
Stay
and
tuned, y'all.
yeah,
That's all I can say. So there will be another episode next week, March 27th. And if all is well with us, we will try to have you up a new episode on that same day.
yep, yep,
So
yep.
stay tuned, y'all. I'm Mega Ran. This is Marcos, and this is your X Pod 97. Oh, let us know what you thought. Hit us with some comments, hit us with some
Yeah,
reviews,
yeah.
and
And
please.
what? Wait, what rating you give this episode before we go?
Oh, we gotta rate it.
I give
All
this
right.
one a 9. I give this one a 9,
Oof,
eight and a
solid
half,
9.
9. Like, because you got to see the strength of Magneto, which they shied away. It's like, man, like, and the tear that he let out, because when he took him into space,
Mm,
you knew he wanted to do something else, and then the tear reminded him
yeah. It
of the
reminded him
promise.
of a word he's always said, never again.
Yep.
uh so yeah, man. I think another 9. Yes, another super exceptional episode. Does a really good job of bringing all these people together. Like I think with such a team with all these moving parts, like it's really hard in the movies, especially. It's always hard to give these guys their own moments to shine within a
Yep.
movie. So that's why a series is really good for that, because you can have a person be the star of that series or that episode, and you can break it down really tiny. And so I honestly think, as much as I want to see an X-Men movie, I think a series is probably the way to go because of that.
What,
Because
like
the
live
X-Men,
action?
yeah,
You
because
know they ain't gonna do that.
I
They're
mean, they ain't
gonna
gonna
give
do
us
it.
for them.
I just think,
They're
or I
gonna
mean,
give us a movie.
you could just do 12 X-Men movies and nobody would complain. But there's going to be people left out. Like in the Avengers movies, there's always somebody who, dang, what happened to that dude? Oh, he was still around. All right, well, cool. You know, having multiple stars in a movie and trying to get them all their proper shine and make them all look strong and all that is a little difficult. That's why episodic works. That's why it works for wrestling,
Yep.
things like that. Because you need time to build up these characters. So that's why I think this series is doing this and doing well at it. So I'm looking forward to more. And yeah, if you like it, please let us know. I'm
Like
Mega
and
Ran.
subscribe, right?
And please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend that there's a new X Pod in town and it's 1997 all over again. Peace.
Peace.
All right.